Hi, Max. Welcome to the Power Talk show powered by Business Talks Weekly. Thank you so much for joining our channel today. Before we start into a conversation, can we run through your professional background and understand a bit about how did you came into a bookkeeping business that led you to a franchisee expert?
Absolutely. Hi, Navin. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. So I came to the United States over 32 years ago from the former Soviet Union without English, and definitely I was determined to succeed. So I found my own know-how how to learn English. That's, a different story. But after I did that, I got the first job and then got my finance education, worked for corporate America, and eventually I understood that the corporate life is not for me. So, as you know, in the United States, we have an Independence Day on July 4th. So, July 3rd of 2002 was my last day of employment in my life. So, July 4th of 2002 was my Independence Day. So, now the Independence Day, I celebrated with double meaning. So, July 3rd was the last time somebody gave me a paycheck. So, for 23 years, almost to a date, I've been on my own running different businesses. And then we had a construction business at some point. We were growing so fast. And me having bachelor in finance and my co-founder having masters in accounting, we just didn't have time to pay attention to our books. And then eventually that led to us going down big time. They stopped building homes and we were doing track homes. And then pretty much we had a lot of debt and no income. So we didn't have a choice but to go into bankruptcy. And we were talking about it. Like, look, if we had a company doing our books, if we would not do it internally, we would notice it sooner. It would not be as hurtful. But it was. We regrouped. We started the company again. We were more successful, sold it. And while we were doing that, we were looking for bookkeeping for our company. Got 20 quotes, and we got for the same scope of work quotes ranging between $200 and $2,000. And I knew from the beginning something is wrong. You can't have a fork that big, okay? So what we did, we started brainstorming, and that led to the a birth of BooXkeeping. And we came up with the name, we trademarked it, and that's how bookkeeping started, literally in the garage while running the other landscaping business, which we sold later for profit and stick with bookkeeping. And bookkeeping was growing. We got an office, we got a first employee, slowly but surely, and then eventually by accident got into franchising. And that just proves my point that you never know who gonna lead you to your next chapter in life, because dots only can be connected backwards. Life always plays jokes with you. So the broker who sold our landscaping business for profit, he actually introduced us to the very first franchise that we started doing bookkeeping for. I didn't know anything about franchising. I thought McDonald's is the only franchising out there.
Absolutely.
Now I do know. Now I'm a certified franchise executive, and I went to school to get this degree. But nevertheless, we started doing bookkeeping for one company, then two, then three. Now, bookkeeping is the preferred bookkeeping provider for over 100 franchise brands in the United States. Some big
Wow.
guys like Fast Science, Signorama, Sport Clips, some emerging ones, some in between, some who just getting ready to start. But we are probably one of the largest players in this market. And a few years into doing that, I started hanging out with franchisors. And I realized that I want to be like them when I grow up. So what I did one day, I just decided, why don't I franchise the concept? Because we have so much information. The company became nationwide and we kind of lost this local touch. And there is still a local need for bookkeeping. So that's how bookkeeping franchise started. And we've been franchising for 3 years. We now have 15 franchisees. They're all in the United States, but we are looking for master franchisees outside of the US. I'm just looking for partners because there is no way we can do it internally to learn, the law and the rules in Canada or UK or Emirates, wherever we decide to go. So I'm looking for local partners. We decide to buy a country, but this is not a first priority. So we're growing this business. And then, so doing that led me to eventually opening a franchise consulting and brokerage because I realized that bookkeeping is not for everybody. So we were looking at a lot of people who were not who are not a good match for bookkeeping. Like they didn't like the numbers, and nothing wrong with that. And then so now the consulting, I have access to over 600 franchise brands, and I offer that to other people. My services are completely free. We don't charge anything. Only if they buy, we get a commission from a franchisor. But
Okay.
I'm going one step further. I'm actually sharing my commission. They getting significant rebate from my own money that I made, which I don't have to do it. And then also I'm paying for 9 months of their sales training because I think sales is very important. So that's every candidate who buys a franchise through us gets that. So that's my story. So I have really three businesses and they all are around franchise.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Max. Max, can you tell me, like, as a franchisee expert and as you work with 6,000 plus brands right now, what kind of target audience are you currently targeting?
600,
600 brands. Yeah.
600, maybe not
600
6,000.
brands. Yeah. So, what support do you provide to your clients and who is your ideal target audience?
So if we're talking about the franchising, like buy a franchise, which bookkeeping is one of that's part of this portfolio. So, and then of course I offer it to people as well, but they don't have to buy it. So the support that I provide is pretty much taking you on a journey so you can figure out what you want to do ideally. Look, people make a mistake when they choose a business. They think if they have a hobby or they're good at something, then this is supposed to be a business. The story I always tell, look, you can have the best pizza recipe that your grandmother was doing, and you are entertaining your family, and everybody loves it. But it's different than running a pizza restaurant because you
Uh,
have to do 100 pizzas in 1 hour that have to look the same, has to have the exactly same number of pepperoni. And let me tell you a secret. If you buy Domino's or, Pizza Hut, they're not going to let you use your grandma's recipe. It has to be their recipe. It has to be
yeah.
exactly the same. But they go more than that. They tell you exactly what kind of cheese to buy, what equipment to buy, how to plan the kitchen. So five people not going to be hitting butts against each other while they prepare it. So again, you can be the best cook in the world, but running a restaurant doesn't mean that you're going to be successful. The other thing, I might not know how to cook, but I can be a great manager and I'll be very successful in running a restaurant. So my job as a consultant to take you on a journey, see where do you want to be, bulk everything, and maybe find the business that you even didn't think about. So we start with what do you want to do in business in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? How much money obviously do you want to spend? Because money is, a big deal and you can get different franchises for different budget. Do you want to have free time or do you want to be available on call? I'll give you a good example. I have friends who own dock hotels, great business. So people making a lot of money, very good business. But the problem, for whatever reason, quote unquote, all the employees calling sick New Year's Eve and Thanksgiving Day. So the owners cannot leave the town. Both of them, two brothers own it. So only one goes at a time because on multiple occasions they had to go 4 o'clock in the morning on January 1st to feed the dogs because dogs who staying in this hotel don't care that your employees called in sick because they had fun night before. So pretty much they are on call 24/7. Do you see what I'm saying? If you
Yeah.
open a tanning salon and it closes at 8 p.m., it closes at 8 p.m. Nobody gonna call you at 10 p.m. Hey, I need my tanning session. Come right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
I think
this is
that's
very
how you
important. This is a lifestyle.
yeah. I think that's how you maintain the culture across all franchisee, whether it is within the same city, whether it is same pin code, or maybe in the same country.
Absolutely. And look, one of the things that we do, and I mean, franchising is an instrument to get people into the United States legally on business immigration. There is a visa called E2, 83 countries, I think, they're eligible right now, not every country. But if you buy certain franchises, again, we help you to pick the right one, you have a right to work in this business. Your spouse can work anywhere in the United States. So if your spouse is in yours, she's going to be making a US salary while you're running the business, and your kids can go to school or universities, all under one visa. But the beauty of this visa, it's approved by an American consulate in your country. So the decision is usually made within 2 to 3 weeks. So you can, like, literally, you bring the business plan, you bring them the paperwork, they stamp it, and you in the country, within a month. It's that easy. And this visa is almost automatically getting renewed every 2 years. And buying a franchise helps a lot because it's already proven business. It already has a business plan, so you can always show to other people. Again, not every country is eligible. The E2 process has to be, going both ways. So it's the countries that, for example, I don't know, let's say United Kingdom has an agreement with United States. That means that me as a United States citizen, I can go and do the same in England. Okay. So it goes both ways. So that's why it's not every country, but 81 or 83 countries, I think it's 83 now, are eligible for that. So it's a great mechanism. And we help, and again, my services are completely free. Moreover, I pay people to use us because, I give them a rebate and I pay for the sales consulting. Yes, of course, they have to pay to the lawyers. They have to, do all of the stuff. But it's not the L1 visa that requires $1 million investment. This one does not require you to spend that much money.
Understood. So, Max, I long time back I read an article like not all franchises make money and they're all profitable. Can you put across your thoughts like what is the percentage of franchises that are successful and how much money do they make?
Look, define successful. I can tell you about I can tell you at bookkeeping. So some people want to work full time and they hire ton of employees. Some want to do it part time while they're spending more time with their family. I have a franchisee who is my first franchisee. She's killing it. She's doing great. But she's like, you know what? I don't want to grow more than I am growing because I want to go to Europe with my daughter and I want to go to Mexico with my husband. I want to have my vacation. So she's not looking to build an empire. She's like, give me a few years, let my daughter to get older, get her own life, and then I'll put more time into that. So that's why it's very hard to say, because everybody has goals. That's what we start with. And some people can have a passive, but they want to have passive income. Franchising can be fully passive because you still have to be involved. I gave you an example with the Duck Hotel. I mean, and even with the tanning salon, if all your employees don't show up, which again, what the chances of that? But if they don't, you have to go and you have to, fill in for them. Or when they run out of supplies, you have to go and, order them or go to a store, buy them and bring it to a store. You can't just have business running and they run out of soap in the bathroom or toilet paper. I know it's basic, but somebody has to take care of it, without it. Because when you go to the tanning salon, you see they don't have soap and toilet paper, you're probably not gonna come back. You're like, what the
Yeah,
hell? Why is it happening like that? So small things like that. It does not require a lot of time, but it's not fully passive. Okay. So it has to be you have to be involved. So that's
understood.
why it's very hard to answer your questions. Franchising in the US is very, very regulated. So the government requires us franchisors to give the data, the historical data, but they don't tell us what this data should be. We can report 1 year worth of data, 10 years worth of data, income, profit, expense, whatever you want to do. You can actually do nothing. But once you report that, you cannot discuss more than you put on the paper, okay? Because that's against the law. It's called
Understood.
financial representation. So, and the government is really checking that you follow that. That's why it's very hard to say. But since we as consultants have access to this data, we're helping people to make a decision. Again, let's say you want to open a painting company, and part of our job is to make sure that, for example, in San Diego, California, the market is open for this particular franchise. And let's say two painting franchises are available. Then my job is to help you to choose between these two. And I'm not going to let you choose one or another because one is $5,000 cheaper than the other. That's not how you do it. You invest all the money. You want to look at the big picture. What is the support? What is the training? What is the market territory? How long they've been in business? Let's talk to other franchisees, see what their experiences are. Okay. So there are a lot of things in this mechanism. And if you come and buy a franchise by yourself, you can. Absolutely. You don't have to use consultant, but you're gonna get lost. There is so much stuff that you just, oh, I forgot to ask this. I forgot to tell them that. And then that's where we come in and we help. And again, since our services are free, I do not understand why people do not use consultants. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Understood. So, Max, you earlier you mentioned like you are trying to expand to different regions. How challenging it is to expand or scale a franchisee business?
So I'm not actively looking to expand into different countries because again I want to have local partner and I let them do most of the work. But obviously I want to grow bookkeeping into all the markets in the United States. The great part is that I don't have any competition. We're the only bookkeeping franchise in the United States now. Okay. So there is nobody else doing it. By the way, that's also approved by the E2. So I have a couple E2 candidates who came to this country by buying, bookkeeping franchise because they were accountants in their own country, so they knew how to do it. So it is the challenging part, Naveen, is to find the right candidate, because I want to make sure that I vet them and my team vets them same as they vet us because the franchise agreement in the US is average 10 years. The joke is that it's longer than majority of the marriages in the United States. So you actually spend time with the business people, long time. So don't you want to spend time with somebody who you like and who you appreciate? And, so that's why I want to make sure we align.
Yeah,
Plus, franchising, as you, I'm sure, know, you have to follow rules. Like there are rules in franchising, you have to do it. Like Domino Pizza, if you open one in New York or you open one in Los Angeles, they have to look exactly the same. The logo, the product has to be the same. You can't just go and change the colors because you feel like it, okay? Because, oh, green is my favorite color, so I'm going to change. That doesn't work like that. So
yeah,
you have to find people who are coachable, who actually will follow the system. Again, they can think outside of the box how to get more clients. That's fine, but they cannot change the process. Like
yeah,
bookkeeping colors are black, red, and white. That's it. We're not gonna let somebody to do blue because it's matching color of their eyes. Okay, not because I'm stubborn, but because it's branding. We have to do it.
yeah.
Everything has to be the same. Same the process. Like we do not do income taxes. We only do bookkeeping because we get a lot of referrals from the CPAs. If a franchisee of mine wants to do taxes because they just want more income, well, I guess they have to open a separate company, but they cannot do it under bookkeeping umbrella. So I'm looking
Yes.
for
Make
people who are like-minded and who also can be trained to grow the system.
understood. Makes sense. So, Max, can you tell me, is franchisee for everyone? Like, what are the biggest misconceptions people have about franchising?
Well, the biggest one in the United States is that people think that franchising means food. Okay, that it's McDonald's, Burger Kings, and Domino's. That's not true. Food is a big part of it, but there are franchises that, painting companies, air conditioning companies, electrical, dance studios, yoga studios, gyms, like you name it, daycare for kids, senior care, in-home senior care. I can go on and on and on. But there are some franchises that you haven't even saw they exist, but they actually exist and they're very profitable. Like there is a franchise, more than one, that help, that actually you go and pick dogs poo from commercial properties and from apartment complexes. It's a great business because somebody has to do it. So an apartment complex will employ this company to go and clean the dog park because somebody has to do it and put the little bags and do that type of stuff. It's a franchise. Okay, you get your territory and then you go and you do that. I mean, dog mobile grooming. So there are a lot of things. So this is a misconception. We get people like, well, I want to buy, restaurant because I want to be in franchise. It's a very hard business. I mean, I'm not saying restaurant is a bad business. It's hard business. And it's money intense because you have to build out, the restaurant. That can cost $400,000-500,000, if not more. Imagine that. I mean, there are a lot of fancy steakhouses that are franchises. I mean, all the equipment that goes in, all the furniture, it's very expensive. So you can spend very well over $1 million to do that. Or you can open a bookkeeping business for $50,000 because you can run it from home and no equipment is really needed. Does that make sense? So that's why, this is the biggest misconception that people coming in thinking that they are stuck with the restaurant. Okay. The second one is that you're absolutely going to be successful. No, majority of people are successful, but look, if you're gonna do nothing, lay on the sofa and waiting for the money to come into your door, it's probably not gonna happen. Like in any business, you have to work hard, especially in the beginning. Can you hire a manager? Absolutely. But you have to manage the manager.
Yeah.
You can't just let them, hey, here's the money, open it, and I'll see you in 3 years. This is not really a good smart decision. You can open, 10 locations, have 10 managers, or have two running 5 locations each, but you have to meet with them regularly. You have to look at the financials. You have to make decisions. You have to decide what to do. You have to be involved in the hiring process, at least in the beginning. So that's the second misconception. And third one is that people asking, why do I need to open a franchise when I can do it on my own? And I absolutely agree. But this is an example that I gave with the pizza. Like, for example, if you're opening a pizza restaurant, you can do it yourself and you can come up with your own recipes and it might be really good. But how long is it going to take for you to figure out the exact how the recipe should look so you can make more and more of them an hour? How many pies you're gonna burn, how much cheese you're gonna waste, how many vendors you're gonna go through before you find out what you need and what is the best product. The franchisor already done it for you. Okay, so how to price the pizza so you're profitable. That's why there is a there is an advantage of franchising. Yes, you have to pay royalties to the franchisor, but franchisor is working hard for these royalties. They're not just making it as, somebody paying for nothing. Trust me, we work really hard to make sure our franchisees are successful.
Absolutely. Makes sense. One final question, Max. What has been your biggest learning or lesson so far in this business?
In this business, you know, probably I would say be honest, be yourself. Like me bringing up the bankruptcy stuff and everything, it was pretty painful. I mean, it was losing everything, including the house, with one baby on the way. It's not the experience that I want to relive, but when I started telling people about it, when I started telling this story, they understand that I'm real and then I'm going to be there for them. So before, people just only telling, I mean, including myself, I'm guilty as charged. I was only telling people the good things about myself. Well, I graduated with honors. I got this, I got that. But, excuse me, I kept this piece out because I didn't want to remember it, I guess. But when I started, people understood that I'm genuine and I'm talking about it. And look, we all can have problems, but the question is, what do we learn from it? This is not a mistake, it's a lesson. It's a
Yeah.
mistake if you just let it go and don't learn from it. Trust me, that was the best MBA I could have gotten. I learned so much from it. How to make decisions fast, what not to do. And when you buy a franchise, by the way, uh, the franchisor training is a huge thing. Like we give people training in executive coaching, sales training, accounting training, initial training, every weekly training. So that's a big deal because it's not only what we know, it's what we learned not to do. And that's we're passing around to the franchisees. So it's a learning curve. Okay. So
Yeah.
you shorten it very much when you buy a franchise, whether it's a bookkeeping or any franchise that I represent. So that's why I learned just be yourself, don't hide anything, be an open book, and people do appreciate that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your time, Max. It was a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.